there. You know, I'll meet you there at 7:30.
It's time to head home.
You know?
Especially, you don't want to work in the morning.
Yeah, my working hours are 1 to 9 p.m. So it's perfect for me, and it's all about me. I'm the one setting it up. You want to set up your own party? You set up your own party. Okay. 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 This is a good way to start off this video. Bring your cat to the party you want. You know?
Your kitty has some beer. I don't think she'd like that. She doesn't like going outside the house.
No.
She's not an outdoor cat. She's very much in.
That's all I'm saying. So, let me give you the backstory on what we're doing here today. Let's put it this way. How many of you have used a slideshow plugin like FlexSlider in the past? Some of the other ones I've seen around school are Blueberry. Is that one that some people have used? Okay. Nicole was having some fade in, fade out issues with it yesterday in class.
It doesn't work in WordPress.
Blueberry?
Yeah.
It would if you did what we're going to do today.
Okay.
Okay. In other words, what we're going to do today is we are going to talk a little bit about WordPress. See, that was funny. Yes, I'm trying to make small talk while I am trying to find a whiteboard drawing. Apparently my small talk is not really, I give up, you guys, I quit. Just leave me alone. I'm just trying to conduct a classroom. So what we are trying to do here is, this is what I call the web design trinity, right? I'm a recovering Catholic school kid. Anybody with me? Solidarity? Catholic school? Right? So, in other words, we want to, as much as possible, separate our markup, our HTML, from our CSS presentation, and then our JavaScript interaction. Okay? So, if you've ever written something in jQuery, like a toggle menu or something like that, or if you've used a plugin like a Lightbox, right? The Lightbox is JavaScript that will access certain CSS classes that you've written in your markup, right? Etc. So what do I mean by that? If we look at what we've got going on here, so far, we have then, well, I have put a FlexSlider into my front page, .php, okay? So what does it look like? How does it work? Right now, it is accessing these three images, right? That then live in my images folder at this point in time, okay? So this is what I mean by markup, okay? So if we go back to the Trinity drawing, markup. Then we have CSS presentation, where CSS then if we say div class FlexSlider, UL class slides, and we look then at the FlexSlider.css file, it is going to tell us how to present the class of FlexSlider and the class of slides. Okay? That's the presentation piece, right? Meaning that display none, visibility, margin, padding, width, display, text transform, so on and so forth. Then there is the JavaScript interaction piece, which also accesses the classes, right? So how many of you have ever written JavaScript that triggers something off of an ID or a class name? Frankie? Yeah. Okay. So how many of you were in Web 200 with me? Okay. So if we look at then this demo here that I've built, and we look at it in terms of then the responsive design, and we look at this menu, this toggle menu. Okay. That then is this JavaScript interaction client side that is accessing our markup to do something with. Okay. So in my header file then, image, toggle, right? So the ID of toggle is applied to that image. And on my main navigation, I have a div tag with the ID of navigation. Window, dot load, anonymous function. When the ID of toggle is clicked, run another function that will access the ID of navigation and perform the toggle function, right? Everybody understands that to a certain extent? Yes, okay. Note to you guys, when I ask you questions like that,
I hesitate.
a simple response would validate me a lot, right?
Got mine there, but
But I digress.
all the time apparently.
Yeah, all the time apparently. See how that's funny. Inside joke, everybody. So what we are going to do then is we are still going to have our markup, our CSS, and our JavaScript here. So on our front page, that's already working, where we have div class FlexSlider, UL class slides. And if we look at our header, right, and we see that we have jQuery installed, and by we, I mean me. There is a script in the scripts folder for FlexSlider.js. There it is. And then another script that on window.load, anonymous function, go access the class of FlexSlider and run the FlexSlider function. This FlexSlider function is inside this file, okay? So I'm going to stop right here and say, if you have not ever installed FlexSlider, let's kind of go through the basics of that. So if we're looking at this create a FlexSlider gallery using attachment images in WordPress without a plugin lecture, and it says present them as a FlexSlider, this will link to FlexSlider, right? Where FlexSlider is basically a JavaScript API. that you download and use, right? That then how it works is you then have to place a link to the FlexSlider.css. You have to link to a jQuery library. You have to link to the FlexSlider JavaScript file. You need to add your markup, div class FlexSlider, UL class slides, list item, image, list item, image, so on and so forth. The list items are what actually slides, not the images. Okay? You hook up the FlexSlider, window.load, class of FlexSlider, FlexSlider function. You can also pass arguments to tailor it to your needs, like animation loop, smooth height, start at, speed, etc. In this lecture here then, I'm pointing to this create an image slider with jQuery lecture. It's not 598 anymore, it's 532. On my school site, I do have a lecture, create an image with FlexSlider, create an image with slider with jQuery, that goes through step 1, download FlexSlider. Step 2, get in place FlexSlider files. So the files that we'll need are FlexSlider.js, the JavaScript file. Put this in a scripts folder. The fonts, put this whole folder in your root folder, right? Or put these fonts in a fonts folder. Lastly, FlexSlider.css. So if we look at this then, jQuery, FlexSlider.js, I've put it in a scripts folder, okay? Then I've linked to it using blog info template directory to look into the theme folder, into the scripts folder for that JavaScript. Fonts. I have these fonts in a fonts folder. The style sheet. FlexSlider CSS, again, blog info template directory, look into my theme for FlexSlider.css. FlexSlider.css. If we open that up, it goes and accesses the fonts in the fonts folder. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Thank you. This is where Anthony comes in really handy in my other class. I point at Anthony and he says, yes. And it validates me. Okay. So now the next part of this is, great. You have a FlexSlider that's working. You have your markup, you have your JavaScript, you have your styles, everything is happy. What if, let me take you to a website that you've never ever seen before, and you're totally going to love this one. What if you've done this client site that you've never shown your students ever as an example ever, right? But your point is, whether you love this or hate it, right? Don't ask me how I feel about it. I'm sick of it, you guys. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. But it's a good example, so I use it. These photos, these quotes or block quotes, and the link to the learn more, then what happens if your client wants to continuously add new photos, write their own text, and link to wherever they want to? Does that make sense? Are they then going to send you the text and the photos and have you hard code this in every single time? What? You hope not. Correct answer. right? Because that would basically be pointless if you have a content management system, right? Now, if we're here, notice this. If you want the WordPress plugin, it's 50 bucks. Do you need the WordPress plugin? How do you know that?
Mike says so.
Because Mike says so, right? Good answer, Anna.
And
Good
to
answer.
agree too much extraneous.
I've used it for a client, right? It was not, well, it did its purpose, but I also have done, I'll show you a way that, let me give you my background on where this all came from, okay? So on my blog, my personal blog here, if you've ever looked at my personal blog, you might notice that what I do is I'll write an article that I haven't written one in a long time. And typically then at the top of the article, I will have a slideshow. If you have daughters, any of you, keep them away from this guy. Trust me. Keep them away from this.
Is that the donut eater?
This is, yeah, this was when he was 2.5. So this was quite a long time ago, right? But I'm not responsible for any girls that date this gentleman when he comes of age. That's all I'm saying, okay? But what I've done here then is, a long time ago, I used a plugin that a former student of mine had written previous to FlexSlider, right? And anytime I wanted to then insert a gallery of a slideshow into my postings, I had to copy and paste this shortcode in here, okay? But I did like how this actually worked. In other words, how this actually worked was I could put a gallery at the top of whatever page and posting I was using that would access the photos that I uploaded to the page or posting. Okay, so remember how we've uploaded stuff to pages or postings in the past, right? Or I go logging into another website. More tabs, more tabs, more tabs.
And then you have to switch between.
I'm gonna have to switch between them here pretty soon. So how this works then is these get populated because I have uploaded. Okay, you guys, this is a serious photo right here. This is when my second son was born. You shouldn't, let me cover that part of it right there. But that actually happened. Trying not to swear as much, Sylvia. Please help me, Sylvia. I need support from you guys. I do. But each of these photos then have been uploaded to this post. Okay? And each photo then I've given a title, a caption, and alt text to. Notice I haven't given it a description. So basically then, how this slideshow performs is It uses FlexSlider, but it could very well use Blueberry if I wrote the markup correctly. And that's what I'll show you here in a minute, right? To where if there are photos attached to this page or a posting, go write the markup. In other words, the object here is to recreate this markup so that the JavaScript can go access the class of FlexSlider and perform its magic. The CSS can go access the class of FlexSlider and present things a certain way, right? So what I ended up doing then on my blog was switching to FlexSlider, and then I thought to myself, oh, well, instead of accessing it using shortcode, this is when I started writing my own functions, okay? This was one of the first functions that I wrote using WordPress. And from there, it's all been downhill, and I can't stop. So if we go to then my GitHub, and I go to my repository, and I go to single.php, add FlexSlider, okay? Right above the content. So add FlexSlider is then a function that is a user or author or designer written function, however you want to say it. Is that Hodor quoting Hodor? That's fantastic. I want one. But I digress. Again. That's gonna be funny. It's gonna be funny. Especially because it's on video. So here then is the add FlexSlider function, right? Where if there are attachments, if there are photos attached to the posting, write up the FlexSlider markup. Div class FlexSlider, end div, ul class slides, end ul. Then for each attachment, as attachment ID attachment, go get those attachments as photos. Get also the post field for, this is going to be confusing, post excerpt. You mean caption? Yeah, post excerpt. It's the same thing as the caption. Is it really? No, but that's what the argument is. Remember how WordPress, because I said so, okay, that's what's happening there. But what we're trying to achieve here is, this is why I say you could do this with whatever slider, right? How does the Blueberry, who's used the Blueberry slider? Okay, so how does it work? Does it access some classes like this to work its magic? You guys don't even know, do you?
I've used other WordPress plugin, slider plugins.
It does.
And they have their own sort of mini media manager.
Yeah, totally not. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about hard coding, right? In other words, how many of you have hard coded the Blueberry slider in there? That's what I'm saying. Like, does the jQuery file access, in other words, this jQuery file accesses the class of FlexSlider to then perform the function of FlexSlider upon? That's my question.
You have to access the jQuery for Blueberry.
Huh?
You have to access.
Let's move on. In other words, it probably works similar.
Yeah.
And you just have to figure out what the markup you need to write is. That's all my point is, right? To get it to work. So this is where then, in order to replace this with actual photos that somebody can upload to a page or a posting, we go back to the holy trinity of web design, and we see that, oh, there's an offshoot from the markup, which is the pre-process, the server side, right? So again, how I often describe PHP is HTML's bigger brother. It pushes it around, tells it where to show up and when and how, right? Does that make sense? Say yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to point at you now, Anna, and every time you have to say yes. Okay. So what we're going to do then is we are going to perform and write a function to pre-process that markup, given people uploading to their site. You ready?
Yes.
And then I'll show you how to do it with shortcode down the line, right? In other words, we are going to, in here, and buy. We are going to hard code into the front page because we are just worried about doing this on the front page for right now. Okay. Just like we wrote a function, get Mike's title tag, we're going to write a function, get Mike's FlexSlider. Feel free to eliminate my name out of it. But if you're ever at a party and you're telling somebody about this, please drop my name. Trying not to swear, trying not to swear, singing a song about not swearing. Yeah.
So it seems like Dreamweaver freezes a lot. Why is that your preferred text editor instead of one of the ones that don't freeze?
Because Dreamweaver shouldn't be freezing a lot.
Oh,
It's because how they have it set up here,
oh, so it's just. It's just-
which is why I swear a lot.
I never tried Dreamweaver because I'm like, it's always freezing in class. It seems like it would be really annoying. Like,
Yeah. It's only freezing in class because the way they've set it up here. But to answer your question, why I use Dreamweaver when I'm FTPing is because what I can do is I can set up different sites here that, unlike what I've seen students do with FileZilla, drag and drop to different folders all the time. I can set up a one-to-one local to remote that when I save, it automatically puts the file up to the server. Yeah, that's why I use Dreamweaver. When I'm not FTPing, when I'm using command line to pull from the repository from GitHub, then I use brackets for coding. And I'll show you how to do that in the 210 class this summer. Who's taking the 210 class this summer? Right? I'll show you how to do that in the 210 class this summer. Web 210, ITC 210.
Oh, you do that in the fall.
Yes, and the fall. So, just like get Mike's title tag, then this is for you, Sherrod. create a function, get Mike's FlexSlider, that then we're utilizing on the front page. So now, if we go back to our website here and we refresh, FlexSlider goes here. Okay. So let's now edit the home page. And what I want to do is upload photos to the page. So when we upload photos to a page or to a posting, it automatically, and you guys at home don't see the air quotes, attaches the images to the page or a posting. So when I said here, attachment images, we're going to go get images that are attached to the page or a posting. Make sense?
Yes.
You already have images up in your media area, can you edit them and attach them to something?
You can. So WordPress has, I think, put in some new functionality where you can attach or detach to a particular page or a posting. So if I wanted to attach that one to a certain page or a posting, I could.
Is it better to size your images?
Yes.
Before?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All of your images should be sized exactly the same
Before you upload them?
before you upload them. Or because in a spotlight, cropping is very important, right? So you want to crop the proportions according to how it's designed. Does that make sense? So if I'm on the home page and I go to add media, and I go to upload files, and I say select files, and I have these in my theme folder. And now I want to say uploaded to this page. Do not insert into page. Do not insert into page. Do not insert into page. So I'm just going to say slide 1, give it caption, alt text, etc. Going to go to slide 2. Notice up here when I do stuff like that, saved. Okay. That's right here. So now I have 3 images attached to the home page. Do not insert into page. Close. So now we, in our function, need to go access those images, okay? Let me open my notes. Because just like you, Mike can't remember everything off the top of his head. And hopefully what I'm saying to you right now is, oh, look, Mike has to use resources too. That's okay that I do that. That's my point. So let's go then back to our function. FlexSlider goes here. We can keep that right there, or let's say for right now, images go here. Okay. So I'm eventually going to use the post variable or the post object. So just like last time, we need to put in our post object as a global variable. Okay. The next thing we want to do is write out some logic. Right? So what are we trying to access? Okay. So we are trying to access images that are attached to a page or a posting. Okay. This is where what I'm also trying to do is help you speak WordPress. If there are images attached to the home page, those images are what of the home page? Children. Let me explain what I mean. Okay. How do I ask this without leading the question? Let's say it like this. Let's go back to another website that you've never seen, and when you see it, you're going to be totally in love with it. So to write out here, this title, this image, this excerpt, and a read more link, right? What am I actually doing? I'm getting the title, the image, the excerpt, and the read more link or the permalink for what? For pages that are children of the services page, right? So that's a key how you talk WordPress, right? Children of an object, right? If has parent. You kind of won't really see if has child, but if we look at this function here, get child pages. Global post, because I'm using the post variable. Now, this one is using the standard loop with the query posts, okay? Post type page, post parent, post ID, right? Child image, child permalink, child so on and so forth, right? So for children of post ID, do some certain things. Instead of using query posts, we could also, for instance, get portfolio, post parent, post ID, so the same type of argument system. This is where I'm getting post type attachment using the get children function, okay? So attachments to a page are children. Is kind of what the long road I'm walking right now. So let's go take a look at the get children function. I'll leave this up right there as well. Get children. Post type, post parent, number, post status. It'll also take other arguments of the post object, right? Post type. Post type attachment. For the child pages one. Post type page. Okay, so what we want to start doing then is in here, we need to set up our what are we getting? Because basically we're going to do this. Attachments. Now, I could label that slides if I wanted to. It doesn't matter. I'm just using the variable attachments because these images are actually attachments. I'll just do that for the time being. So what I want to do then is use the logic if attachments images go here, right? If attachments for each attachments as attachment, right? In other words, eventually we are going to be using the post object. So right here, we are kind of basically setting up an alias for the post object. It'll become a little clearer later. Right? So basically what we're saying is, if there are attachments for each attachment, get the image. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Really?
So,
That's the logic of it. So what we need to first do is define what are attachments, right? Because are we gonna just get an X? No, we have to define what the attachment is. So this is where then I've often used the not the GERT children, get children function, okay? And for the get children function, again, I want to pass arguments through it as an array, okay? So parameters that I can use are post type, post mime type, post parent, number, so on and so forth. So array. Post type. Tell me some post type. What are some sample post types?
Page items?
What'd you say?
I said art. I don't know.
Page,
Post.
post,
Attachment.
attachment. Media usually is attached to a page or a posting. There are different types of attachments. I can upload a PDF or a video or an audio file. So therefore, let's go back to post type. Any value from post type, such as attachment, page, revision, posting, so on and so forth. Post mime type. Example, image, video, MP4, right? So we have to say attachment type of what I am showing you right here, right, is key to going and getting things out of the WordPress box in your functions file, right? Key. I have used the get children function. I have used this methodology all through my functions files, right? This, when I found this, oh man, was it powerful. I didn't need plugins. I could go get children. I could go get attachments. I could go get whatever I needed from wherever I needed. Oh. Post, mime, type.
Mine type as in like.
Oh. Image is the post mime type. What does mime mean? I don't know. Somebody look it up and tell us. Ron, look it up and tell us, please. So, post type, attachment, so attachment images, right? For what? Where are we? Sylvia?
Mine is a multi-purpose internet mail extension.
Mail extension? Like,
Well, that's one of them.
like boy mail? Like, so this is a boy mine.
Basically types of files.
It's a fancy, yeah, that's right, a fancy term for it.
So where are we in the website? What are we getting children of? Okay. Also known as, in this case, we are getting children, right? So post parent. What's my post parent? Right? So instead of getting things for like ID 186 or 185, like I showed you guys in the past, right? I am getting the children of the post ID. So wherever we are in the site, I could use this function. I could put this function on whatever. So when I put this function in my single posting template, it'll go get attachment images for the post ID wherever I am. So whatever post I'm on, go get the images that are attached to that ID. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's what we've set up. So if I have this set up like that, I might expect, let's test it. Because I have 3 attachments, do you think it's going to write this 3 times? You don't?
Like that.
I don't know. This is just something that I thought I'm going to, yeah, it's a loop. So I'm expecting it to write it 3 times because there's 3 attachments. Right? So there are 3 photos attached. So for each attachment, write that out. So instead of image goes here 3 times, what do we actually need? The actual image. Okay? So we could do it like this, where we want to say, and then fill in this value, right?
So you can leave it blank just to pull everything out, right?
Well, there are say that again, what?
You couldn't just leave it like, instead of having to put each image, you could just pull a whole file, like create a file, folder, and put to that folder, just pull everything out there.
Yeah, but we've attached them to the page.
Okay.
We uploaded them to the page.
Right, I guess so.
Okay, so
But could you do that? Though?
yeah, you can do anything, Chef.
I think you can do anything.
You can do anything, man. I mean, you can do whatever you want, right?
That's my life.
So I could do this like that. This would require me to get Get attachment image URL. So I could go this route if I wanted to. But that would mean that, remember the search engine optimization stuff we talked about? That would mean if I went and wrote this out, I'd have to fill in an alt attribute and get the alt attribute and so on and so forth, right? So instead, we are going to use the get attachment image function, which requires us then to pass the ID, a size, and any attributes that we might want, right? What we're concerned with here then is who's a developer that can't type? Kills me, man.
You in the backstage?
Just, I can't type, man. I never learned how to fundamentally type, right? So I always have to look at the keys, right? I'm that kind of typist. Where when I watch Lisa Sandoval type, she'll be talking to me and typing, right? I'm jealous. I can't do that. Lisa, I'm jealous if you're watching this video. I'm jealous. So because then, right, we have, in other words, we want to get for the post ID, let's say size large, right? But this isn't going to work because we have said then post ID, we're getting attachments, right? So basically we could say possibly attachment ID here, but because we've said attachments add, we want to pass attachment ID, right? Does that make sense in terms of how you read through some of these variables, kind of the hierarchy of the variable structure? Who's ever had to go from one variable to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next to see the trail of how it goes, right? So that's what we're talking about. So now if I do this, what should I expect? What do you think is going to happen? Again, if we go look at the WP get attachment, excuse me, attachment image. That's why I have my notes up here. Do you think I can remember all these functions, Aaron? A lot of them I can, but I have to have resources just like you, right? What?
At least you know they exist. That's
Yeah.
key.
So get attachment image, right? It'll get the image element representing an attachment. So now that I've done that, I should expect to see the 3 images unless I screwed something up. So why isn't my FlexSlider working?
You haven't invoked it.
Huh?
You don't have encoded the function.
Right.
Invoked it.
I haven't set the proper markup that then, because when I did it statically, right? Window.load, access FlexSlider, like it's set up properly, but in this function, if attachments, right? In other words, we don't want to write this markup if there are no attachments, okay? Now, we have this hard-coded into the front page. It's only going to be in the front page. But what if you hard-coded something like this? On a blog like this? What if you didn't want to put any images up top here? So if there are no attachments, you don't want any markup, right? What if you instead wanted a video instead? This is me making backing tracks. If there are no attachments, no markup. If there are attachments, you guys comment out your brackets like this? No? Sometimes, because
I do what I'm.
yeah, have you ever played the what closing bracket goes to what game?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just like what closing div tag goes to what opening one?
Oh, yeah, very coding around that.
Man.
I've become very fond of the modern IDEs that will match.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know Dreamweaver's got that in here somewhere, you know. But
Between that and the roll-up functionality, it has made it much less.
yeah. So anyhow, I want to have my opening div class FlexSlider. My opening UL. And then in here, what actually slides are the list items, right? So I could use one echo statement, or I could use multiple echo statements. You know, it's up to you how you want to do this. I could use a return statement if I wanted to, right? I'll show you this function with some return statements in a little bit. In other words, I'm kind of writing this code out a little more lengthy than I need to for readability's sake, right? It's up to you if you want to compress it a little bit, and I'll show you how I've compressed it in a little bit. But now, like I said, it's the list items that actually do the sliding. So now, because I've got the proper markup, my FlexSlider works. Hooray! What if I want the caption from the caption field?
Doing that, recently. You get captions.
I mean, basically, yeah, right?
But you can just run it in the image, like,
I'm going to use the function getPostField. But again, I need to be very savvy on how do I Google things for WordPress, right? WP, get caption field from attachment image. That sounds pretty logical to search for, right?
Sure. Yes.
It's one I looked at the other day. Anyway, you're going to see a lot of these functions, right, as you go cruising through. And you'll start to get to know what does what. But essentially, the function that I'm looking for is the get post field. Okay. And the arguments are field for whatever post. So again, get post field. This is where, after looking and looking and looking, I figured out that post excerpt was the caption field for this function. Again, sometimes when you're searching for WordPress stuff, you're going to be like, what? Thumbnails, get featured image. Why not get thumbnail? Because it's featured image, right? You got to speak the language. And again, I want to then say for post ID, right? But instead of saying for the post ID, I need to change this to attachment ID. Right? So this is where if I wanted this to be positioned absolutely as a caption up there, right, I could style it like that. So this is where this is the caption for that image. The URL on the Learn More button, I had to improvise and I used the description field, right? Which is kind of a hack, but there weren't more fields and that field wasn't being used, okay? So that's essentially how that's built. And they can then use it. Well, what if we want these ordered a certain way? In other words, in WordPress, you can do this. So how do I get it to adhere to the order that I want to? I have to give directions to my attachments through the get children. So I need more arguments here. I need to first order sending 1, 2, 3 or 0, 1, 2, 3 versus 3, 2, 1, 0. Then I need to tell it order by, I can't type, see? I cannot type. Menu order. So now it should be the lake, the hacker group, the graduators, or the chair and some of the PhD students. I'm going to update this post. Then if I view this, the lake, the hackers, the PhD students. Okay? Now, what if you wanted to put this FlexSlider on certain pages and only certain pages? How would you do that? Close.
You can wrap it in conditional, or you can put it specifically on the page.
How would you specifically put it on a page or a posting?
Well,
For instance, let me talk over you for a second, Ron. For instance, in my typography lectures, on my choosing a typeface lecture, no FlexSlider, just images inserted. How would I then get a FlexSlider to show up or something to show up on a certain page?
Is this the short code you promised?
Short code. Somebody was listening. Right? So,
But how does that get connected to your?
function. Should I discuss that? Should I close some tabs here? Why not? Is it time to close some tabs, Adam?
How many you got?
I've closed a whole bunch, man. Did I just close the edit that I was, oh man.
Oh, you carried away with the clothes?
Jesus, man. I really have no idea what I'm doing anymore. If I don't have my script, I'm so lost. Yeah, so this is the short code. So basically, instead of putting PHP code in here, you have to put short code that then accesses a function from your functions file. So we add FlexSlider function here, same thing in my school site. But instead of echo statements, I used variables with concatenation and then used a return statement down here. Because if you use echo statements in your function and then you use short code, it won't put the thing in the right place. Okay, whatever. But essentially what you can do is, take a look at this, Sylvia. If I wrote this add FlexSlider function, right? And I want to use short code in the text editor.
There's a short code.
Yeah, so you use this add short code function, say this is the function, this is the short code. So therefore, if you wrote this function like this, and instead of using, like I said, instead of using echo statements, this is the better way to do things versus echo statements, from what I understand, is to set up I could have even done it where I just set up one variable, output, added to output, added to output, returned output. But this is where I did open, slides, close, return, open, slides, close, right? I mean, however you want to do things. But this is probably what's a little bit better, is to, you know, write out all of this as just one kind of line like that. But I took the long road for just readability's sake, right? How many of you are comfortable going this route? Yeah, this is the route that I would go from, you know, but it's essentially, if you look through my functions files for my business theme, my personal blog theme, and my school theme, you'll see this type of thing, right? So for instance, instead of FlexSlider on my projects page, right? I'm doing the same thing where I have uploaded images and I'm using images that are uploaded where I'm uploading images to this page. And instead of using a FlexSlider as the application, I'm using a Lightbox as the application. You know, going back to the trinity of markup, CSS, and interaction, right? Markup, presentation, interaction. So here then, I'm saying my thumbnail gallery, right? Well, what is my thumbnail gallery? It's basically a function that I've written that I'm using the same thing. Here is the function. Here's the shortcode. Global post, attachments, get children, et cetera, et cetera. If attachments open, write this markup. For each attachments, get the image And this is where attachment links, attachment ID. I might have done it a little bit different of a way. There's different functions that'll get you to the same thing. Close. And then basically I have a Lightbox plugin that will then click and open the large size image. But essentially this function right here is the same theory and same written type of function as my FlexSlider one. It's just some of the names are changed. The markup is different.
Protect the innocent.
Yeah, you know, I mean, but you understand what I'm saying? So if you go through and look at my functions file, you know, you're going to see add FlexSlider, you know, get submenu, global post, get these things, use them, right? Get my Flickr, blah, blah, blah. So like I said, this is where I've utilized the functions file to, instead of, oh, let me go see if I can find a plugin that'll allow me to open up thumbnails as a Lightbox. Well, I've already got a Lightbox that I'm using all the way around, right? So I just need to put images in the page as a gallery how I want to, right? Versus using the standard insert gallery into WordPress. Does that make sense? So really take control of your code, of your functionality that way. I'm going to push you, when you guys get into the 210 class, I'm going to really push you guys to not use too many plugins, right? Didn't I push you guys, Frankie, to do that? You and Milo?
Not as much as I think this class.
Really?
Yeah.
I pushed some of the other students to, you know.
I thought we were pretty good there. But
You guys didn't need much help. You guys were, you know, I just left you guys alone for the most part. I helped you guys with the plugin. Yeah.
and we also learned a lot.
Yeah. But I would really, like I said, when you guys get to the 210 class, I would really encourage you guys to not just go looking for a plugin to start out with, right? Because that plugin might do 95% of what you need it to do, and a whole lot of other stuff that you don't need it to do, and it's going to really bloat out your website, and it's not going to give you that 5% that you need, right? So being able to control it yourself and really understand how to simply utilize the post object and get properties of the post object to return the parameters, titles, you know, images, captions, properties of the post object that you need, right? Is really, so this is what I meant by, oh my God, when I realized that everything in WordPress is a post object. Right? That's when I really discovered it took me to another level, right? And I really started realizing that when I attempted to write that FlexSlider markup myself, right? That really pushed me so many years ago. Well, anyhow, this FlexSlider is not an actual assignment, you guys. I don't know if you knew that.
But we all want to know how to do it.
Right, so it's up to you guys. I will make it an assignment once this class goes up to a 5-credit class, right? And make it due at well, I should actually just do it and make it due at the end of the quarter. But I failed to write up the assignment, right? So you're off the hook this time, right? So Thursday is our final exam in this class. I'm kidding, Sherrod. Don't let me do that to you guys, right? Because I'll do it every single time. Because you fall for it, Sherrod. You and Analia are just like, what? Shad is like, duh. Okay. So Thursday, open lab. All the finals week, it's just lab. Get your stuff done and turn it in. Yes, Analia.
When's our last?
Huh?
Can I tell you when you're done?
Yeah.
Next Tuesday?
Okay. Then Thursday during finals week. I'm not going to invite each one of you individually via Facebook this time. I did that last time where I went through and actually invited everybody individually via Facebook for the end of the quarter happy hour. This time, I'm not going to do that. Plus, I probably can't do it with you because I don't think we're friends on Facebook. So it's a moot point, right? So, so I'm going to do it this way, where it's on my site. Thursday, June 15th, 8 p.m., because we get out of here at 7. I'll buy some pitchers of beer.
I have a WordPress question that's not part of the curriculum.
So hold on.
How come it's out of here?
Free beer, June 15th, 8 p.m., Bill's off Broadway.